What's up, guys? So Nintendo did something funny a few weeks ago. If you guys remember the Nintendo Direct from early September, 15 more minutes. This music is starting to get to me. I did a reaction video to it if you want to go watch that. It's time, everybody. It is time. They announced that they are releasing a Virtual Boy shaped shell for the Switch 2. And I had opinions on it, if you remember. What? 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 What do you mean? Who asked for this? Honestly, it was just really, really funny. And it reminded me actually of when I got my own Virtual Boy and I didn't really understand how this thing worked. And I didn't really understand how this guy was actually like supposed to be set up to use. And so for anyone else who might be in the same boat that I was of not really understanding how this guy is supposed to be set up to use, I thought it might be fun to make a video showing actually how to set up and properly use your actual original 1995 Virtual Boy. This is not going to be near as complicated as the Sega Tower of Power video that I did a long time ago, but so many people seem to like that video, so I thought I'd do another video in that style-ish about another obscure kind of system. So yeah, let's adjust the camera and let's talk about this guy. All right. Let's talk. Now, the first thing you're going to need to play Virtual Boy is a Virtual Boy. Pretty self-explanatory. The second most important thing you're going to need to be able to play Virtual Boy is actually this shroud. The screen inside here is not very bright, and so this really relies on blocking out all external light around you. So the shroud here is very important for you to have. There are secondhand ones of these. The clip here is probably the most important part because I'm pretty sure you can get third party or secondhand actual like foam fabric-y stuff here. If you don't have this, it's not the end of the world because you should be able to get others, but you will want this if you want this experience to be any kind of enjoyable. Luckily it does. The foam just does just fall right on this guy. And then to attach this to the Virtual Boy, there's actually two black clips right here. That's what attaches the shroud to the system itself. Those slide into this here and this here. You'll just drop that down in there and then in from inside, press it down. It will click in place. And then you have your shroud on your Virtual Boy. And the other good thing about this shroud is it does actually hold your face off of the back of this just a little bit. So that way, if you wear glasses like I do, you're still able to get your face smushed in here just fine and not be inhibited by having to wear glasses or anything. With the Virtual Boy in hand, with the shroud, we can set this to the side and get the next important item. And the next important item is the Virtual Boy stand. Now, I'm like 98% sure that this is an aftermarket stand because there's no Nintendo branding on it anywhere. I would assume the original stand would have had some Nintendo branding on it, probably right here. But regardless, you will need a stand to play this as intended. That way you can actually stick your face into the visor to play the games. So if you're like me and you're a clumsy little doof, you might accidentally do this. And think, oh God, I just broke my Virtual Boy stand. Well, fear not, because you haven't. This is actually a very, very easy piece to fix and put back on. As you see, it broke off in my hand. You've got this side of the clip here, and you've got this metal piece which acts as the spring for the clip. Now, to get this back in place, it took a little figuring, it took a little looking, but I did finally figure out how to get this guy back in. So you'll see in the stand here, you've got this little U-shaped bit right here. And there's one on the other side as well. This little U-shaped thing right here. So the little hinge points on the clip that fell off. See if I can get the camera to focus. You can see them right there and right there. These actually will sit up in those pins. So these, as you can see, it's right there. You'll drop this in here, right like that. And then push it up until it snaps into place. Now you will be able to just pull it right back out, so you don't want to do that, but once it's able to do this, you're good. But now you're thinking, well, what about the spring? You didn't put the spring in there. Correct, because the spring will go in now. So you see from underneath, there's this gap right here, And that's actually where you push the spring into. As you can see with the spring, it's got one side where the metal's bent back and one side where it stays flared out. Because of that, it can actually only fit into this in one way. Here, it's got this like Tetris T shape to it. So with the bend in the spring going into the stand, you want the flared out bits on the spring on the top section against the piece that broke off. And then once you line it up, you just push it in until it clicks. And that will put the spring tension back on it and will hold it in place. But again, if you're not careful, you can just slip it right back off. But if anything, that's good that this stand was designed with it breaking in mind, so that way it's very easy to put back together if it does come apart. Now comes the next tricky bit, actually loading the Virtual Boy into the stand. It's gonna go in a little backwards to how you feel it should. So the Virtual Boy on the bottom here has this clippy thing. As you can see, it dips in right there, and it dips in on the other side as well. That's what these wrap around, and these pins here fall into these holes here. The problem with that, it can go into this guy on either direction. But there's one specific way you want it to go in, and it doesn't feel like it's supposed to go that way. If you loosen this knob here on the end, this head does pivot. And the way the Virtual Boy feels like it's supposed to go in is in this direction, because it will just set in and clip in place, and you don't even have to do anything. Like, it'll just fall right in. And that is super easy, and that's the way it feels like it's supposed to be. But if you do that, I might have to adjust the camera. But if you put the Virtual Boy in here this way, to where it just clips right in place and you don't have to do any kind of weirdness to it, it will actually pivot in the wrong direction. Because right now, it pivots back like this, where your face is kind of here, or your face can be flat with it, which makes you have to kind of arch your back and come in at it, which is very, very uncomfortable. So what you actually want to do is flip it around, and again, it's not going to go in as easily. You're going to want to get it here, and you're actually going to want to push it in just a little bit, and then it will fall into place. And now the Virtual Boy will actually pivot in a way that makes it kind of comfortable to get your face into it. That way you don't have to like kind of arch your back down and come at it this direction. You can actually just lean into it. And that's the way you want this to be set up. Now that the Virtual Boy's in the stand, let's actually talk about the ports on the underside of it. There's 4 things on the underside of the Virtual Boy that are of note, but good news is you only have to pay attention to 2 of them, and you can pay attention to 3 of them. This right here is your volume wheel to set the volume of the Virtual Boy. This here is your headphone jack if you choose to want to use headphones with it. I like using headphones with it because it gives more of that virtual reality experience to be fully encased in what's going on in the system. This 6-hole port here is your controller port. I'll talk about that here in a second. And this here is the extension port. This never got used. For those who might not know, the Virtual Boy was actually on the market for less than 1 year before it was discontinued. So they had plans for these to be able to connect to each other to play like multiplayer games. And that's what this extension port was going to be used for, to hook to multiple systems together. But because this thing utterly flopped, they never got around to using it. So while it's here, it does absolutely nothing. There might be something in the homebrew scene that uses it. I don't know. I've not looked too much into the Virtual Boy homebrew. So I actually told you wrong. There's an additional thing on the bottom of the Virtual Boy that you need to pay attention to. That's actually this port here on the front of the system. This is where your games go. I have Mario's Tennis here. Fun fact, this is actually the debut of Mario Tennis. This is where this series first started, was on the Virtual Boy. You're going to stick it into the system with the label up towards the system and then press it in until it bottoms out. Now you might have noticed that I did not point out a power input on this system. And that's because the power does not come to the system from the system. The power actually comes to the system through the controller. First off, we need to just discuss how absurd this controller is, because it's this like symmetrical design where you got a D-pad on the right, a D-pad on the left, A and B on the right, and start and select on the left, and they're all just the same setup here. It's kind of ridiculous, honestly. And it's got its power end here. If you notice, it's actually a very short cable, because it doesn't need to be long. Like, this plugs into the system right here, like I showed you a minute ago. This plugs into the system right there, and then you have your controller to be able to play your games. Now I said that the power comes through the controller to the system, and it comes to it in one of two ways. So my system came with this, which is a wall adapter for the Virtual Boy. What this does is it uses a Super Nintendo power supply to be able to power the Virtual Boy. When I first got it, I had no idea what I was looking at with this guy, because it's like, how do you get power into this? Did something get cut here? What's going on? But it's actually super cool because this flips up, and that's actually like a relief for the cable here. This plugs into here, and then you close it around it. So it's got this like relief here, so it's not pulling on the plug itself. And then this actually slots into the back of the controller like so, to deliver power to the Virtual Boy. Now, the Virtual Boy actually didn't ship with this. It shipped with a battery pack that took 6 AA's, I think, to power this guy. And let me do a little looking up real fast. And that battery pack that the system shipped with was 6 AA batteries, and it ran for about 4 hours on that. That's insane. I'm glad that they allowed for this kind of solution to be able to plug in your own power supply. And if you were a Nintendo fan at the time of this thing being around, you had a Super Nintendo already, and you could plug in your already existing Super Nintendo power supply to be able to play your Virtual Boy games. And now with everything ready to go, there's one last thing we have to discuss, and that's these knobs on the top. So this does actually adjust the position of the LEDs and the mirrors inside the Virtual Boy, which is what visually show the system to you. And because everyone's eyes are different, everyone has different visual abilities, everyone has different glasses that they need to be able to see through, it's important that these be adjustable so that it can be made to fit whoever is trying to use it. IPD here is the distance between the mirrors inside, because you want them to be kind of directly in front of your eyes. And the focus is the position. I don't know exactly what the focus adjusts, but it just makes it to where it just gives you the clearest picture. But that's what these do, and so you'll just need to fine tune it to give you the best visual experience. So now that we've done that, let's get this guy turned on and just give it a shot. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to hold my camera here up to the visual here. I need to clean that, good lord. Up to the lens here, so that way you can kind of get a vibe of what this is going to look like. Now, as you can see, there are little red squares in the corners. There's some in all of the corners. You want to adjust the IPD sensor, the distance between the eyes, until those are all visual. But again, you only see 2 on this side because there's 2 lenses, and see, there's the other 2. You want to adjust that IPD until you can see all 4 of them when you're looking into the system. I'm already bad at this game, so this is gonna be really difficult to play it just with one hand. And yet I'm somehow doing it. Well, that was bad. You can see it through both of them, but this is actually 2 different images. You're not looking at the same screen through 2 different lenses. This is actually 2 slightly different images, which gives that 3D effect that the Virtual Boy is both known and infamous for. But how does it give you that 3D image? Well, the way stereoscopic 3D works, it actually gives each eye 2 very slightly different images in order to give you the appearance of depth. Because that's the way our eyes work. Our eyes are basically 2 cameras that are slightly off from each other, that give you not just the flat view of something as this one camera does, but because they're slightly off from each other, it gives you a little bit of being able to see around something, which gives you that appearance of depth. Now, I'm no expert, so I'm not going to go into detail about how this creates those images. I'll leave a link down in the description to a video by the James channel, who does a teardown of one of these and shows you the inner workings of how it creates the images. But what it gives us is 2 very slightly different images of the same game, so that way it appears it's in 3D. But unfortunately, while the Virtual Boy was able to produce the images, it wasn't able to do a great job of it. There was a lot of innovative ideas here that they just weren't able to capitalize on because the technology of the time just wasn't quite there for this kind of idea. I mentioned this system is only out for less than a year. In that time, there were 14 games for it released in the United States. I have 7 of them, and getting the rest of them is going to be difficult because they're all really expensive. I believe there were like 8 or 9 more Japanese exclusive games that never made it to the States for whatever reason. But yeah, what about you guys? Do y'all have any experience with the Virtual Boy? If you don't, what's something about it that intrigues you? And if you do, what's your favorite game on here and why do you love it so much? Leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. But I think that's going to be it for me for this one. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like button. And if you like what I do here, then hit subscribe because it does help me out a lot. Once again, thank you guys for watching and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one, y'all.